Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Doing all right. We were talking in the green room, nursing a little bit of an injury. Markets beat me up a little bit, but I'm doing all right. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing good. Trying to stay awake. Was kind of an uneventful day. Um, Stayed out of trouble. Um, Not much to report from the volatility side. A collapse in volatility, but we'll go through that.
Sure. Coach Hoop calling out the cattle, air horns, and cattle. If you were looking for a market that's trending, it's live cattle. Live cattle. But welcome to all of our buzzer beaters. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. This is your first time here. The goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. May talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is your first time meeting, this is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023, trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years now. Been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some wisdom, and perhaps help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that. You are all our audience, our chat. Thank you for joining us every day. Let us know how you did in the chat. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Maybe you stayed flat for the day. Mike the Trader, what's up? Peter and Kath says your anchored view up helped tons. Made 1,500 today. Love to
Well,
hear that. I lost about 1,500 today. Trying to buy the S&P. It went to the target, pretty close to the target I was looking at, but sometimes markets just stop you out on the way to their destination, and it is what it is. But let us know how you did for the day, and we will take a look at the Trader Hub to see what news we had for the day. There was some planned news this morning. We had S&P Services PMI and Composite PMI numbers come out. ISM Services PMI number as well. The uh, S&P Services PMI came in at 50.8. Forecast was 51.2. ISM Services PMI came in at 51.6. Forecast was 50.2. Uh, did have a 3-year auction, a 6-month auction, some executive orders being signed. Uh, but pretty quiet news day, Coach. I think FOMC probably has everyone's eyes this week. Anything you got from the news?
nothing at all really. FOMC and as every day now, tariff news, which was a bit thin. So I think that showed in the stocks at least a pretty thin day, except for gold. We'll get into that later.
We will talk about gold. I did see something interesting over the weekend, Coach. Caught a headline, and it said that Japan was not going to use its treasury position in any trade negotiations. So I think part of the concern was that they may sell that treasury position. So a headline from Reuters that said they were not going to do that.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah. Number
They own a
one,
lot.
number one debt owner, U.S. debt owner. Yeah, pretty helpful. I think the other trade partner we may still be a little bit concerned about unless we don't get a deal.
So,
All right,
le-
so go ahead, Coach.
oh no, let's see what our top percentage gainers and losers were.
Let's take a look. Today to the downside, we had wheat futures down 2.21%, micro Bitcoin futures down 2.97%, and corn futures, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, at 3.14%. To the upside, we had silver up 1.07%. Live cattle, talked about live cattle making new all-time highs, up 1.18%, and gold up 2.94% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. Uh, Talk about our big four. We have crude oil down 2.09%. The S&P down 0.68%. We already talked about gold up 2.94%, and the NASDAQ down 0.79% to round out our big four. I have an S&P chart up here, Coach Paul, on a daily. It's the start of the week. What are we looking at here?
Inside day. Still above the 50-day moving average. Um, very light volume. And what else? How much is there to say about a day like today? Very slow. Still on the correction path, but nothing big in front of FOMC. I don't know. I believe there's no, the odds are no change, but this market is stalled.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely stalled out. I talked about this last night during the market kickoff with the Fed meeting on Wednesday. What is the likelihood that these markets get directional? We've been talking about this April 2nd range, and we closed pretty much at 50% of it. And an inside day from Friday's range, um, kind of to be expected. Was a pretty slow trade in the S&P and in the NASDAQ. I think we're coming kind of getting back to normal a little bit with the average ranges. Average daily range is coming down right now. It's at 150 points. Today's range was 48 points. So very consolidated. If it feels like your trade took forever, because it did. Um, and go ahead, coach.
What we're going back, we're
Yep.
going back to normal.
Yeah, we really are. We talked
Um,
about making that adjustment. Like it's necessary, right? These crazy moves that we've been seeing, that's not going to stay forever. Market's going to get tired of that eventually. Go ahead, coach.
no, nothing big. It's I was kind of stunned at 51 in S. 200. Let's just call it 290. Excuse me, 230. Put my glasses on. With I mean, we're just the volatility is just collapsing. If you're getting caught,
Hold on, coach. They're saying you might be a robot.
no, no,
All right,
I
we're
am
good.
your
We're good now.
father.
We're good
We're,
now. We're
we're,
good
we're-
now. Should be good now.
so
Go ahead.
if you get caught in this market because of impatience, it's understandable. But learn that um, when there's a change in market regime, such as we're having, you have to adjust your size, or you stay on your plan, but understand that when it slows down, one of the first things that I used to do was try and force the action. Market doesn't care about your action and what you need. It took me a long time to figure that out. But if you got spun around today, got hurt, and it was outside of your trading plan, understand your mistake. You can't make money every day. Um, it's just not in the cards. So on days like today, it's easy to get ground out. So
That's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me. I was long the S&P during fast markets. I wanted to get long. We could see what happened in the overnight, and pretty much today was a uh, balanced trade. In the overnight last night, we started to sell off. We kind of held this demand down here and bounced right back to the open. This is the trade I was looking for this morning. And if we look at it on a 30-minute chart, it's a pretty clean trade, right? Each of these 30-minute candles making higher lows, higher low, higher low. But sometimes when you trade on a shorter time frame, this action kind of wicks you out here. So I got long the S&Ps, took one winning trade and then one loser on this kind of push lower here. But this is the exact price action that Coach Paul is talking about, where you know if you get stopped out on something like this, I would say don't beat yourself up over it. I think the one thing that I could have done, Coach, was I had VWAP. My stop could have gone below that instead of above it. Maybe I was being a little bit cheap here. Uh, if that's the case, then I'm in this trade pretty much to my target, right? The target was settlement 5709. We didn't ultimately get there, but within 3 points of a pretty good target, I would have had to hold the trade all day, but it wasn't invalidated until we got under VWAP, which would have still been a profit had I held that trade. Got to think about your trade management in times like this. Uh, Anything else you got on the S&P, Coach?
Um, Nothing really. I think we see more of this tomorrow.
Agreed. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ really quick on the daily as well. We came in to the green room for fast markets. And as we were entering the green room, I said, Dolby, we're going to go with the early over under 20,000 in the NASDAQ. Right now, NASDAQ trading 20,020. And that's kind of where we ended up. We have that April 2nd candle, the high of that candle being 20,044. We traded above it. We closed above it on Friday, opened up above it, and traded right back to it. Again, don't know how directional these markets are going to get before FOMC, and that's exactly what we're seeing. I would not be surprised to see the same tomorrow. Anything else on the Nasdaq, Coach?
Yeah, we're still braiding with the 20 and the 50 until we have balance. We're still above the 200. Still, I would like to buy a dip, but we really didn't get a dip until late today. Um, but once again, that volume, it's pretty low. So,
Yep.
and then that's expected. Um, Here's another thing in that, looking at that, there's old saying is if in doubt, stay out. Uh, I don't, yeah, I probably am going to step aside unless I see it, anything that's inside of my plan and just let it grind. I'm not a range trader. If you're a range trader, it was even tough. It looked like it was going to be stay in the
Yeah.
opening range. It broke under, it came back. Two things, it's all right to stay out. Another thing, it's all right to lose a little bit of money
Yep.
if it's part of what you plan for. So, um, yeah, I even remember staying out is can be a very good decision too. Capital preservation. You don't
Yep.
have to be involved every day.
I mean, we saw Dakota lock himself out maybe an hour into the session with a small loser, right? I think he was down $200. He initially was down about 1,100 from a gold or 700 from a gold short. Got in the Nasdaq, and then locked himself out and said, "Hey, this is not the price action that I like to trade. I'm not even going to try it." And I thought that was a really good move, especially knowing that there's going to be opportunity later in the week. Really, no reason to force anything. Shout out to the traders that did take this opening range breakout with this VWAP. That was not an easy trade to take. I'm going to be honest. VWAP did leave that range to the upside, but the way it did it was not very convincing. Maybe you guys took it when the price action kind of flattened out a little bit here, when that VWAP was significantly above that range, and it still gave some nice opportunity. But that was not a easy trade to take. So shout out to you if you took it. Uh,
Yeah, that wasn't, and it was the range of the open was pretty decent range, so there was risk there.
yep,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I in the S&P, took the sell side of the opening range. I jumped the gun. Um, but yeah, boy, you look at it there, remove the candles, and I do this every morning.
Yeah,
It helps me.
nice.
Like, um, who's buying it? I don't know, but they're
Yep.
holding it. So that's all I have there. Russell.
The Russell and the Dow, just real quick, just going to glance over these. Not going to go over them. They were moving a little bit more fluidly than the Nasdaq and the S&P. Still the same. We look at it on a daily. We're still inside that April 2nd range. Still an inside day, but on a shorter time frame, these markets just seem to be moving a little bit better. I think percentage wise, the Russell and the Dow were up a little bit more when at their highs. than the NASDAQ. So maybe something to look at as well. Which one of these markets is leading us higher? But they all look like the exact same chart. Left the opening range and came right back to it for balance. Let's move on to gold. Take a look at gold on a daily. What's going on here?
Well, let's. We thought we had a potential blow off top with the high volume. We had descending wedge, um, which we've closed above now. Um, bet found support at the 20-day moving average. We did not close. Did we Friday? Yeah, we closed. So let's look at the half hour.
All right, and I did not forget you, Coach. I have your screens if you want to bring those up.
Sure.
Give me 1 second on those. I'll switch this over to the half hour. You can talk about that, and I'll finish building your
Uh,
shot for your
let,
screens.
there we go. Last night, oh, small opening. Well, but there we go again. With urgency, after the first hour and a half, we broke out of the opening range. VWAP and never looked back. That low was made in the first couple minutes. There was absolute so there was intent to buy this. Once again, it looks like Asia came in. There was no news overnight about tariffs. Um, so that buying took off again, and what a move!
Is Asia back to buying gold? Can we put that trade on again?
Well, they did last night. Will they do it again tonight? Interesting. I mean, that was it was about $100 move. Yeah, it
Yep,
was $100 move.
it's a huge move. It's a huge move, and pretty much all in one direction, right? We opened the open was pretty much the low, and just uptick the entire time from there. When I did the market kickoff, I talked about the potential continued downside in gold. But on the daily, Coach Paul, we have this 20 moving average, like you talked about, um, where we closed above again. Uh, I'm going to
Yeah.
switch over to your charts. I know you had some patterns that you wanted to look over there. So if we're good, I'm going to switch over now.
All right.
What are we looking at here?
All right. On the daily, so we had this wedge, descending wedge. We closed underneath, held the 20-day moving average, and like you said, it had a potential to go lower. Was interesting that we settled right at the 20-day moving average in front of a weekend. I, this market might have expected some kind of news or didn't want to take the risk. I don't know which one it was, but look at that opening this morning. And we just showed it on the half hour. There was intent, urgency.
Yep,
And interestingly, where did we go? Right back to the top of that wedge where we settled. Um, and that yellow, thin yellow line is VWAP off that high.
closed
We
above
have
it.
we closed above it. We haven't since that big selling day.
Hmm.
I take all of this as friendly action. Um, because look at how I mean it took out one, two, three, four, all of last week in a few hours. Um, I'm going to watch the first half an hour. And like Coach, you said, is Asia back to buying? I think we'll find out in the first couple hours tonight.
I think what's really interesting about this gold move is that most of that move, that second leg of it, happened after gold had already settled, right into the equity close. There was some real strong buying coming in. So let's see whether or not they just continue that as soon as these markets open back up again. Maybe we'll give it a little bit of time, but that looked like a very strong after settlement move in gold.
Yeah, that looked like some people were caught. Like, what happened? Get me out on the close. Oh, you didn't? Anyway, also from the south side, watch that. I'm going to watch the first half an hour.
Yep.
A breakout on either side. But if it's buying, we'll be blowing the air horn very quickly, in my opinion.
We are 5% off the all-time high in the futures contract in gold right now. Anything else you want to share on your charts, coach, or I'll switch it back over to mine?
I'll switch it back over to yours.
All right. Let's take a look at crude oil on the daily. Crude ended the day down 2%, but if you look at the price action that we actually got, it was down about 4% right off the open. Gap down on the Globex open. Uh, Looked pretty bearish, and I think it still does. Maybe there's just a little bit of a recovery, but crude looks like it wants to test the low of the year, low of a couple of years. In fact, this low here is 54.46. Low of the day today, 55.30. And again, that happened on the open. If we look at the first 30-minute candle, it's that right there. And then we kind of just filled half of this gap the rest of the day. Uh, Overnight session was pretty quiet. We started to buy it in London and then chop around from there. Uh, what do you look at when you see this crude chart, Coach Paul?
After a gap like that, I stopped looking at it.
Uh, Move your mic down, Coach.
Is that better?
We got you.
All right. I'm gonna hear my phone now too. Uh, all right. I did. I that kind of move at this low price. What was the reasoning? Doesn't really matter.
I didn't
Well,
find one.
suddenly, that was that's the range, average true range right there. Um, when I see that, I'm done. I'm
Hmm.
not. I didn't even. Matter of fact, from my trading, I have no interest. Um, but we did we did make the low on the close with almost a J trade. But crude. I mean, let's look at the first 5 minutes.
Of the session
Crude,
or
yeah,
the
of the night session. Now look at that. I
yeah,
mean,
that candle was
now if we use that, look at. I mean, how do you? I don't trade it. I don't. I have no answers for you. If you made money in that and you had a plan, tell us.
right.
Really, I'm not just. It's kind of a market I'll just stay away from. I'm glad I did. Um, but interesting that gold broke like that and gold rallied like that and crude broke like that. So it's not an inflation play in gold. It's a geopolitical play in my from the evidence I see. Why
In
would
crude, you're saying crude or gold?
in in both? Well,
Okay,
in gold, they didn't could care less what was going on in crude. So
got you.
if it was an inflation play, you would expect gold to break, and it didn't.
Right.
It rallied $100. So we're getting deeper and deeper in this trade war, and we're seeing most of it played out in gold. Um, these markets are on they're off chain. Each market is individual. Um, there is opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I don't like what happened in crude on a gap like that. That's just hard to trade. Um, if you came in short, well, you weren't a day trader, so you don't have to worry about it. Um, but looking at a daily in crude, I did this feeling that this could just bounce and go right back to the 200 moving average.
Oh yeah.
This is still in our magical range. Um, Other than that, I don't, how do you, let's look at the opening in London, which we should do every time we look at crude.
Here's the open in London. Let's go down to a shorter time frame. Let's take a look at a 3 minute open in London, 3 a.m. Eastern time, 2 a.m. Central. Here it is here. That now that's a nice trade there, right? That's a really nice trade right there. You're up at 3 a.m. or if you're in London, or if you're looking at the London Open for a trade, there it is.
There it is. Much, much more defined.
Yep.
Um, and boy, that was a nice 2-to-1. And that had urgency. It was right on the get-go. So, am I going to have to start getting up at
I'm gonna leave that one to my friends in London. They can have it.
2?
They can have it. I'm trying to prioritize some sleep here, but I mean, if it's gonna be trades like this, maybe I trade this and then just sleep during the day.
Or go
That
to
that
bed
probably
early?
that probably won't be great TV for Topstep TV, sleeping on air, but
Well, you sleeping and your trade working
right.
could be
That
some
could be
drama.
that could be all right. But all right, we got
Now
a
let's
question
see
here.
the Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead. No, a
Let
comment here from So What. Do you have a set amount you're willing to lose per trade or DLL? I can't seem to hold on to my funded accounts. Set a personal daily loss limit. That's not your full account value. I think the suggestion here is going to be don't lose more than 12% of your account in a day. That is coming from Coach Paul. But you have to be okay with losing something, right? Because you're okay with it either way, right? Whether you set it or not, you're okay with losing. A lot of times we're just okay with burning down the whole account if things don't go our way. That's just not a great way to sustain anything. If I start to build a house and one of the studs is rotted out and I need to get another one and I just knock the whole house down, I'm never gonna get a house, right? Or so
You're gonna live in a tent.
right. You can't destroy your progress every time something doesn't go your way, and that's a lot of times what happens when traders either don't have a daily loss limit or stick with a loss. Just do it, right? There really is like it's just necessary, right? It doesn't even have to be a full conversation. You're either going to do it or you're not. But if you don't, just understand that you may not get the results that you're looking for. So just accept it. Uh,
One other thing for each account, I would not risk, and I personally, it's 12% of my account balance for the day. But let's say you have a $3,000 balance. That's roughly $350. I give myself 2 trades at that point and force yourself to be patient. If you're having struggles, try the opening range breakout trade first to see if you can develop the discipline to follow a plan with risk management. With that, you might have 1 or 2 trades. That's it. It might not get you across the finish line in a couple weeks, but it will instill your ability to follow a plan. And with that plan, not risking thy whole wad. So it teaches um, I'll call it account management. That's because that's what you're managing. You're not managing a trade, you're managing your account. So the fact that you're recognizing that and understanding that is now you have to take action on how to do that. One of them is
yep.
don't risk 50%. At the most 15. It's just because you don't know any trade. Someone tells you this trade is 100%, don't listen to them. There's no such there's no such thing.
They lied. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that will also remove you from a mindset of having to win. It sounds counterintuitive, but if you have a good trading plan, that you can start removing that anxiety of having to win every trade. And
Yep.
from my experience, uh, that causes anxiety, and the anxiety causes bad decisions. So recognize it, pare down. I don't know the size of your account, go smaller, and think a little longer term.
Uh, I'm gonna answer a couple questions here. Westy says, "What time do you use to anchor VWAP in the 3 minute range for gold, New York Open or overnight?" If we're looking at the overnight session, it's the 30 minute, and then if I'm looking at the New York session where gold opens at 7:20 Central Time, 8:20 Eastern, then I'm looking at the 3 minute. Um, I'd also want to comment on something that Super Wild is saying in the chat. Uh, I pass combines easily, struggling to actually take a payout on XFA. It's usually taking me 3 to 4 days on average to pass a combine. I've passed close to 10 combines in the last few months. Uh, Coach Ray and I did a class with some traders who were struggling to get payouts. And one of the things we said is, what are we conditioning ourselves to do when we're in the combine? Coach, you tell your basketball players all the time, right? Practice the way you're going to play, right? And whatever
Uh,
you do in practice is who you're going to be in the game, right? It's not you're not going to get to a game and then all of a sudden be this different player or the one that I expect to be. Now, for you, Super Wild, if you have a problem taking payouts from an XFA, I asked specifically how many days it takes you to pass a combine. You said 3 to 4 days. In order to take a payout, at a minimum, you need to trade for 5 days. If you're consistently conditioning yourself to pass the combine goal in 3 to 4, you actually don't even know what it feels like to trade an account for more than 5 days, which you need to do in order to take a payout, right? So if you're able to make profits early, I would say, let's say we see traders do it all the time, right? And I've done it. Set the personal daily profit target to the 50% consistency rule. You hit it on the first day, then you maybe hit the second half of that on the second day, or you split it up over 3 days. You're instantly conditioning yourself to think, hey, I'm going to achieve my goal in 2 to 3 days. I should expect some reward from it. But when you get into an XFA, again, you've never conditioned yourself. In the 10 combines that you pass, if none of them have taken more than 5 days, you don't even know what that feels like, right? So, and you said you're getting to the last day of the XFA where you just need one more $200 day to pass. Now you're starting to think monetary goal. Oh, and you've put so much pressure on it, right? So slow down. If it takes you 2 weeks to pass, at least you know what it's like to hold an account for more than what that minimum threshold payout window is, and that's the minimum, right? That's assuming that you get an XFA and then in 5 days you have $200 days. Uh, you're rushing the process, and I think it's better to kind of zoom out and think longer time frame. Think about this account 6 months from now, a year from now, instead of saying, "Hey, you know what? I need a payout by the end of the week. I'm going to try to get that." Go ahead, coach. You all right?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's still
Allergy
spring
season?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what I find really fascinating is you've passed 10 times.
Yep.
So you have something,
Yeah.
but what you have to do is that you have to see what part of the cycle is working when you pass, because there's no straight line.
Yep.
So you could be hitting the upside of your trading plan. I don't know what it is, but I don't care who trades, there are drawdowns.
Yep.
So if you're passing that quickly and you're doing it consistently, you're doing something, you have something right, but I think you only have half the answer. The other half is, what part of my trading plan Am I on the roll part, the upside, right? And then there's going to be a drawdown. And go back if and look at all the data. You're going to find something in that data. I'm pretty confident that's going to say, okay, I need to size down, slow down. Um, or you could be trading too big of size, and that's the first thing that comes to mind. Because when we talked before, this is about managing. That's why they have a combine, because the key is consistency. And they don't fast or slow. They want the idea is consistency.
Yep.
If one of your friends came to you and said, "Lend me $10,000. I got a great trading plan," I might say to you, "Oh, sounds great. Do you have? Let me see your statistics in trading." Right? And you might say to them, "Would you? Okay, wow. Okay, when you can maintain that money, keep it for 2 to 3 months, I might throw you half. But right now, it's not consistent enough. So your job as a trader is not number one, believe it or not, make money. It's to manage the account. So you have something good, go back, see what's working and see what's not. When you discover what's not, and you got a really good chance of consistency of doing this over time. Build the account.
Good stuff, coach. And you had made a point about everyone has a drawdown. I think what's happening in the reset cycle is that we're resetting really quick to avoid to get away from the drawdown as quickly as possible and get to the goal. The reset cycle is your drawdown period. Whatever it is, however many times you have to reset, that's your drawdown. You're sitting in it. You're just not realizing it because you just start from zero every time. Like, oh well, I'll just reset it. It's okay. And but every one of those is your drawdown period. So learn to deal with it eventually. Any other markets? Actually, here we go. The dude says, "Good evening, coaches. I've been bugging about soybeans during Topstep TV, but nobody wanted to look at it. Is this a market you sometimes trade at all? Looks pretty interesting to me." Uh, Take a look at soybeans, Coach Paul. What are you seeing
S-
here? Let's
well,
go out to a
remember,
daily.
soybeans are the NASDAQ of the grains. They are um, very volatile. So let's just look at the statistics. We're over the 200, the 20s crossing over that. That looks friendly, but in a longer time frame, we're in a range. So we're going into day trading. Let's see what it looks like on the half hour.
Do you look at overnight in soybeans, or we want to just look at regular trading hours?
I would just look at regular trading hours.
Stuff out of here. All right. Well, that looks a little better. Here's the 30 minute. Let's go down to a 5 minute.
Yeah. Okay.
That bad.
Yeah. And one good thing about soy or grains is just go to that 3, 5, 1 minute opening range trade and get an idea. Um, Now let's look at how much it costs to trade that. On that 5 minute, the average true range,
One. How do you quote
what?
this? How do you quote it?
Um, Let me look at my screen. It's
2 cents.
two
About two
cents
cents.
is $100. Yeah,
Yep.
on the 5 minute, five. Yeah, 2 cents is so that's $100. It's not a little bit of money, but it can move. Um, and let's look at Friday's action.
Friday was right
8:30
here.
Central.
Friday was the second. Yep. Okay. Here's
Yeah.
Friday. Friday's open. This is a 5 minute opening range. Like a
Yeah.
bad chart.
So start looking at those without the night session. Night session really doesn't mean much in grains. It can, don't get, there's no absolutes, but overall it'll so yeah, soybeans are a good place. It's corn too. I mean, it depends on the size, but I would start with one lots. But I mean, it's a decent. What is the average daily true range after you're done with that?
About
Uh,
9 cents in corn right now.
so in corn, yeah, corn got plastered today.
Yeah.
Um, Victim of the trade wars. So is soybeans. I don't want to go into fundamentals, but yeah, soybeans are a good place to trade. But remember, it's volatile. Um, and it can get choppy, just like anything else. But as far as opportunity, absolutely, there is opportunity there. But I would say this: go in there with a plan. Whatever if you have a good trading plan, it's not a bad place to be. Is
Yeah.
this the corn today?
That's corn. Yeah, I mean, it was the biggest percentage mover to the downside today. I think the thing is, if you don't watch these markets every day, you could look at it and be like, "Oh wow, there's huge opportunity in this." But like you said, Coach, there are days where it can get fairly consolidated. I think if fundamentally we're seeing these markets move, maybe it's worth it if you're, looking for an outside market to keep it up on the side to see whether or not it gives you a setup. But I think sometimes what can happen is, and I think we saw some traders do this last year where they were looking at the ags every day, and then it got to a season where they slowed down a lot, and then they would put on a trade, and it was moving, 2 ticks. They get frustrated. It's like this stupid one lot is not making me any money, so I need to put 15 on. That's never a good decision. And then the market moves, and now you're, you know, probably on the wrong side, right? That's usually how the market gods usually make us pay for our mistakes. But be patient with it. I would say maybe don't default to this as your main market every day, because some days you're gonna get price action that looks like this. But and I mean this is corn. Soybeans might look a little bit better. Yeah, soybeans definitely looks better. But even then, here's a extremely range bound day in soybeans. You're gonna get those. So I would say if this is a market that you have not traded before, look at it to learn, not to earn. Put that on a
Yeah,
shirt.
and it moves in pennies, quarter cents, 12 and a half. Um, each penny's $50. Um, yeah, go ahead. I actually I I like the opening range trade on a 5 minute in the grains myself.
Go. Go. 5 minute opening range. See what side it breaks and go from there. Today would have been a short. You would have got stopped out if you just took the blind short, but that's all right. Sometimes you get stopped out. All right. Any other markets we want to discuss? Let's see if we got any questions.
Swiss franc.
Swiss franc, kind of light on the questions right now, but that's all right. It's Monday. Market's probably lulled everybody to sleep. Let's take a look at the Swiss franc on the daily. What are we looking at here? Huh.
Well, you tell me, coach.
This 20 moving average is trending pretty strong. This looks a lot like the gold
Yeah, it does.
market where we had that blow off top in gold. Then we had this little consolidation kind of flagging thing here. It held. And now I could imagine if I attach a view up from this high, probably closed above it today. Did it earlier.
It's is this any shock that Swiss is tied to gold?
No, this looks pretty bullish right here.
Yeah, holding the 20 inside of consolidation, still rising. The 20-day has not bent. And it's just marching forward. As long and we don't have an answer to this trade war, um, not that I've seen. Watch it today. This has the potential, like gold, to just rip right back. That's the way I see it. I think that's a great place to trade tonight. Gold or Swiss.
Good stuff. Thank you, Coach. B Knight. I don't know if you you were asking that question because I said we didn't have any questions, or if you're trolling, or if you really wanted to know. But how do you attach VWAP? Drawing tools, 5 icons down. Halfway through that menu, you got anchored VWAP. Click on a candle, and it anchors it from there. Um,
No one's trolling you, coach. The only one would do that is me.
yeah, right. Um, all right, we got some questions here, or comment from DL. Coach Paul, Coach Jane, Coach Paul, regarding what you're talking about, the question to ask everyone is, how long have you been trading, and when's the last time you've paid yourself? Never. Why are you in a rush? It's a good question to ask, right? A lot of times, I talk to some of my VIPs, and one of them said, "Hey, a great goal is to make $10,000 a month." I asked, "Did you make $1 this month?" Because 10,000 is a great goal to have, but if we can't even, get to break even for the month, then we're, you know, maybe setting the sights a little bit too far. And I think it's okay to have a general goal. I think what we do as traders, especially early on, is we extrapolate data. Oh, I made $400 today. If I could just do that every day for the month, then I made X. But that calculation never includes the downside. Uh, so, you know, focus on just stacking days together, and then look up at the end of the month and say, "Oh wow, I'm surprised at my progress. I'm surprised at where I am," instead of looking at the scoreboard all the time. Because when you start losing is when you got to make some real decisions, right? Coach Paul, I think you've probably watched the Last Dance documentary, but
Yes.
Jordan he's talking about, everybody has everyone is okay talking trash when they're in the lead, but it's when they start losing where you show like a true measure of a person. Uh, Kind of terribly paraphrase that quote, but it's the exact same thing that happens with us in our trading, right? You see the P&L screenshots when you have a couple of winning days, but then those losses are usually so big that we don't want to talk about them, and that's an issue, right? So just stack days on top of each other. Losing days count in the stack as long as they're measurable. Um, that's all I got to say on that.
I, you know, you hit it there. Losing is is okay. One of the things I would say, losing or winning on a day-to-day basis is going to get you in trouble
Mm,
if you're human, because you you can't control that. Whether the day is going to be, what can you control? Executing a plan
losses.
and managing in your losses. So one of the functions that I've done, and I see other people do that, have go forward this way. I will only lose X. Let's say I'm going to make it easy, 10% of your account, and in one day, so that you can set that on top step X. If you hit that, then you have to budget your trades. If you don't hit it, then you've either lost well or made money. I don't. This is a challenge. You're gonna probably look at me and they go, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" This is the challenge. Can you go 1 week without looking at your P&L and go on Friday after the close? How did I do? When you do that function, you start removing what I loved hearing out here is the dream, the money dream, and start executing a trading plan. It's really important. Um, if you feel that because that's your ego, literally, when you're watching it tick to tick, and because our ego doesn't want to take what? a
Losses.
loss.
Yep.
And one of my VIPs had a quote. I actually write it down on a trading card I have right here. Your ego is not your amigo. I'm like, what? Why haven't I heard that? So I would, part of that challenge is if you really have a trading plan and you really want to start managing risk versus make a bunch of money in a hurry, because there's a lot of cars off the road around the turn going 150 miles an hour over the cliff. You just don't see them
Right.
when you're on the road. So if you can get to a point for 1 week, just manage your account by limiting 10% to 12%, and and really don't look, take it off, don't cover it up.
And if you want to see how to do that in TopstepX, go to settings, privacy, and just check all of these, and then your P&L looks like this. What I would say is go into the risk settings and set a personal daily loss limit that you're comfortable with, just so you know you don't
Yeah.
just randomly blow up and say, "Oh man, I hit my max loss limit." But set a personal loss limit for the day, something that is going to give you at least 5 days to sustain the account, and then just trade. You might be very surprised at what your results are if you just let your trades work. Jeremy LaRose has a question. How can I get better at holding positions? I find that I don't trust the market once it moves in my direction and I close profits way too early. Jeremy, that might be a little bit of loss avoidance or just the need and the desire to be right on your trades. One thing you can do, try this as an exercise, maybe do it in a practice account. And understand that that is a trade management style. I think there are two different trade management styles. There's active management where you're trailing as the market gives you profits, or there's the passive management where I said a stop loss, a profit target, and just let the market go. And maybe I manage every half hour or so if I'm looking at the trade. If you think that the market eventually goes to your target, but you find yourself choking the trades, maybe in this type of consolidation or something like that, uh, what you can do is set your stop loss, profit target, and then set a timer maybe on your phone where you say, "Hey, I'm only going to check the trade every 15 minutes, right? I'm not going to look at the charts. I'm going to close them down, log out of TopstepX. I'm only going to log in after the timer goes off, assess, and then come back. If it's not at my profit target yet, set another 15 minutes and then go from there." What may happen, and in this case, it would have happened to me today, and why I don't choose this management style. I got into the S&Ps here. Profit target was here, right at settlement. Market pushed up into it and rejected it. So this is why I'm saying maybe check every 15 minutes, because if you check during the 15-minute interval and you're right here and you're a couple of points away from your target, maybe at that point you want to passively manage and say, "Hey, you know what? Don't let this turn into a loser, because then this sucks." And this is why I've chosen to actively manage my positions and trail as the market presents profits. You can see today that didn't work out really great for me because of this consolidation. Maybe I trailed a little bit too tight, but there's no better way to figure out how to hold positions longer, but than to do it right. It's uncomfortable. I think the first time I tried to train myself to do that, I said I'm gonna put on a trade, take my dog for a walk, see how long I could take the dog for a walk. And when I first did it, put the leash on and went right back to my desk, and she's looking at me like, What the hell? I thought we were going outside." Um, because
She's
I'm
gonna
like,
bite you.
yeah, I'm like, you gotta wait. I gotta manage this trade, right? And then ultimately, eventually, you start to realize like it's okay. I've already defined the loss, so let it just work from there. But even still, I actively manage my stops. Any suggestions that you have for holding onto your trades a little longer, Coach?
Um, One thing is, whatever your time frame is, you set the trade, and like you say, if it's a 15-minute time frame, come back and check it in 15 minutes. The idea is to get your front of mind away from money and into execution. So those are a couple ways to do it. Um, when you do that, you know, you're going to feel less anxiety. I know if I sit there watching, come on, baby, come on, come
Yep,
on. I, you get to, you start getting, they know I'm long. Oh, it's all emotions.
100%.
I mean, if you watch poker tournament, the silent one, there's an old saying is deep water runs silent. Get to a point where you're confident in what you do because you've managed your account. Um, and don't watch, I can't say this enough. Don't watch every tick. If you watch every tick, it's going to create a lot of anxiety. If you're watching it to get into a trade, a pre-planned trade, which is your trading plan, okay. But once you're in and you've predefined your risk, you accepted the risk, put your stop in, put your objective in. You know what happens more? Then you're just waiting for the close. If it doesn't hit either,
Yep. I saw someone, I forgot who I saw on YouTube recently suggest doing this. It might have been Real Deal Zach. Shout out to Zach. But he said, put a, and it's not doing it here, but basically, if you're in a consolidation, just put a black box over it where you can't see the chart. If you need to sit
oh
at your
yeah,
desk, just hide all the candles, or like Coach Paul does, right? Just get into your trade and then remove all the candles from your chart. Let it go. Uh, and then you only know what the last price was. You don't get to see all of the, you don't get to see how the sausage is made. Because this is
yeah.
not fun to watch at all. So,
No, it's up, it's down. Like I said, then you find yourself cheerleading,
yep. I
and
should add
then
more. Oh, this is going to be the worst trade ever. I'm going to get stopped out. Oh man, if only I took it at this price. Make the decision and then just let it work. Cause yeah, I mean, coach, do you love when the market does this? I hate
no,
it. I can't stand it. It's the worst thing ever. And it's never going to change. So it's I have to adjust to it, right? I can't make the markets adjust to me.
bingo. One of the things I did in that when I was in my cheerleading stage is envisioned myself in a cheerleader's outfit, and it's
Huh.
that thought. I stopped
Yeah,
real quick. It's not a good thought, but I had to go to that extreme. So you'll never hear me going, go, go, or son of a bitch.
yeah.
Because what are you? You're really, your subconscious is taking over
Starting to hope.
and you're starting to hope. And that's a four-letter word, and you go through the whole cycle. Um, so, it goes back to plan your trade, trade your plan. Don't get caught in the whirlwind of emotions. I mean, it's, I'll ask any trader out there. Have you ever been, have you been caught in that maelstrom? I think I would say it's 100%.
Yeah. GDL says you don't blow on the screen. I know that Kentucky Derby was this weekend, but sometimes I'm here like, come on, go, go,
Go-
like a jockey. It doesn't help. The horse just looks back at you. Sometimes it kicks you off. It says, "Get out of here." That's what this horse did today to me. It just threw me off the horse before it kicked me in the face too. Before it went to where we were trying to go. Uh, Donald Key says, "I've had 5 losing days in a row on my combine. How would you reset?" Uh, Review your trades over the weekend, right? If you had 5 losing days in a week, review to see whether or not there's anything you could have done differently. If you look at your trades and they're trades that you would have taken, and they're high probability setups, right? Be honest about your review in them. Sometimes that's going to happen. Um, you know, Sometimes market conditions change, and maybe you trade a trending strategy, and the market that you trade uh, ranged for the week. So review to see whether or not your trade setup fit the market conditions, and if there's something that you need to change, you'll see it and make that adjustment. But hopefully, the 5 days were manageable losses. where you can continue to trade because you can make it all back the next week. Paul H
Um,
has one more question, Coach. The 12.5% DLL is a great idea that has helped me keep my account, but when the account drawdown available is 20K, would you decrease that? Would you, let's say you're building your account, right? You start with a $4,500 drawdown and 150K XFA. You build that account value to 20 grand. Would you scale down that daily loss limit?
um, no. And I'll tell you why. I like the idea of 8% because you're trying to keep some money. Um, but the consistency of 12.5%. It worked. It worked. Why change it? If you're just trying to protect your capital, you might cut off some winners. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I don't like doing that. So I don't know, Paul. You've been around. Does it work for you? I wouldn't because I like the consistency because you're not going to blow up quickly by doing that. Um, if you had just an explosion where you had like 10 days in a row, mm, then I could see why you might want to do that, but I wouldn't do it for a very long period of time, if that makes sense.
Stuff. Thank you for that, Coach. I think that's it. I think that's it. We talked about a lot. We answered a bunch of good questions. Thank you all, as always, for sending in your questions. We talked about all the markets. Unless, Coach Paul, you got something else on your scouting report you want to talk about?
Oh, no, there was one other question from Monica.
Okay.
In your opinion, is there still a chance of a surprise rate cut based on the tariffs uncertainty and recent market sell-off, even though the consensus is 96 to 98% of the no change? Quickly, I don't. That's something I can't control, but I would like. So I have to trade accordingly. But if there was a surprise rate cut, volatility would explode.
Hmm.
Because why is the Fed doing that? So good question. It would surprise me, but I out of that I can only control my risk when I enter the trade. But overall, if you saw that, I don't know. I think the stock market would get hit because there would be a real assumption that it's worse than it appears. So great question. Boy, now you got me thinking. It hurts when I think.
Eddie always plays that clip during Topstep TV. I have no idea where it comes from. He's just like, try to think, but nothing happens. If you find yourself doing this with your charts, close it and walk away for the
Oh,
day.
that's priceless.
Thank you for sending that, Andrew. Um,
That's
if you find yourself doing that with your charts, it's probably not going to go to where you want it to. So lock it up, close it, and try again tomorrow. Thanks everyone for joining us as always. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Coach Hoop is doing a class in about 10 minutes in Discord. Then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince in Discord as well, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Dakota for slow markets at 7:30. I will be joining him tonight for slow markets. And then we have Aaron doing the London Open at 1:30 Central Time. And then D with Euro Trade at 3:30. Ton of content for you. You don't have to be there and watch it live all the time. If you want to go back and rewatch something after the fact, I think it's a good thing to do. Kind of see how we all talk about markets in different ways. But if you're there live, ask questions. That's why we're all there. Help you out with your trading journey. Trade well, manage your risk. Coach, you got anything before we go?
I will duplicate what you just said. Plan your
There we
trade your plan, and see if you can go a couple days without staring at your P&L. Set it up like Coach Jay showed. If you're still not sure, ask questions, but get away from looking at money and get to a point where you're executing a trading plan. And that's it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Coach Paul. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, chat. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
Cheers.